Hello and welcome to the July career strategy session, aka the free career consultation. We're going to get started in just a minute. I'm going to give everyone a chance to log on. It's just 1 minute after 6. So in about 1 minute, we will get started. I'm so excited because I've gotten tons of questions from you all for this episode. Well, I'm saying episode because I recently launched a podcast and I'm so used to saying it now, but for this career strategy session. So we're going to go rapid fire through some of the questions because we have quite a number of them, but I'm still going to give you the thorough answers that you have come to expect from me. So in just about a minute, we'll get started. Let me tell you, I'm so excited about the Navigating the Career Jungle podcast. The reviews are great, so thank you so much to those of you who are listening and writing reviews. I'm absolutely shocked that we reached 100 downloads so quickly. I publish the episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays of each week, and I always give a free PDF to accompany the episode just so that you can really listen, but then implement the things that you're listening to. So, as we get ready to get started, I'm going to give us all maybe 15 more seconds, and then we're going to jump into it. All right, so we're going to get started, and I'm going to be reading some of the questions because I want to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from with the context in those. So our first question is from Nikki. Nikki says she is currently in a customer service role, but she's looking to move into human resources. Her company has not had a lot of openings in human resources, and all of those positions are entry level. She's been at her company for a few years. So actually 7 years it says. So she doesn't know if she should move on to another company or if she should try for something entry level. So she's wondering if I have any advice. She's unhappy in her current situation, but doesn't want to stay in it out of fear or feeling like she doesn't have what it takes. So, all right. Let's get into this, Nikki. Great question. And I have talked to numerous young professionals in the same situation where they are looking to move up, but of course you need experience to move. And that's not having the experience in that field is sometimes something that will hold you back. So you have customer service experience and you've been at this company for 7 years. So the first thing that I would recommend that you do is talk to your supervisor if you haven't already and express to them your aspirations. Now, one thing that we didn't get in this email that I would like to ask is, do you have a degree in human resources? And if you do, are you a part of the Society of Human Resource Management? If not, I highly suggest that you join the Society of Human Resource Management. It's SHRM for short, SHRM. It's, probably the regular professional association fees. I'm not sure off the top of my head, maybe $100 or so, a couple hundred at most. I would suggest that you join and you get involved so that you can start networking, in addition to talking to your supervisor. So you've been on your job 7 years. So if you've been crushing it, like really nailing your performance, then your supervisor will more than likely be willing to support you as you grow in your career. Now, another thing that I want you to do, if you don't have a degree, I would suggest that you enroll in some courses that are in line with your budget. Don't break the bank. And I did see your extras on the bottom, which I didn't include in this Q&A part, but I understand that finances can be an issue for some people. So what I would say to Nikki and anyone else out there in Nikki's position is take it slow, create a plan. First, talk to your supervisor. But when you go in to talk to your supervisor, the conversation should showcase what the value that you can bring to the organization. It shouldn't be a conversation about me, me, me. Well, I want this and I want that and I want this. It should be about, you know, I have this background in customer service. I really understand the organization. However, I'm really passionate about human resources and I've been taking human resources classes, or I have a degree in human resources and I am a member of the Society of Human Resource Professionals. I like to transition into a role. Can you support me in that? Or, this is so important, and I want everyone to write this down. Ask if you can shadow. Can I shadow once a month someone in human resources? Now, the person that you want to shadow is the person who's nailing it, the person who everyone respects, they're doing a great job, and that person is the person that you can learn a lot from. So you want to build those mutually beneficial relationships within your organization. So, Nikki, I hope that helps. I know I gave you a lot of action steps. So I'm just going to recap for you really quickly. One, talk to your supervisor. Anytime you move inside the organization, you should make sure that you speak with your supervisor. You don't want them to be blindsided. And believe me, people within an organization, they're going to go to your supervisor before they call you to talk to you about a job. Two, if you have a degree, make sure that you get a certification or something on top of that, depending on how long ago you received that degree. Three, join the Human Resources Society of Professionals. Again, that's SHRM. I don't know how much it costs, but you should definitely look into it and invest in that membership as part of an investment in your career. Now, the fourth thing that I want you to do is create a plan. Outline how you're going to do this. And when you have that conversation with your supervisor, always bring it back to how you can help the organization grow. It doesn't need to be all about you. It needs to be about how this is going to be mutually beneficial, both for the organization and for your career. And then as a bonus, you'll want to shadow the person who is most respected, the person who is crushing it in human resources. When I say crushing it, I mean the person who is always on time, the person who is being put on special projects. Yeah, we all know that person who it just seems like they're always getting promoted. Those are the types of people that you want to shadow within the organization. Now, if you do all of that and there's still no opportunity for you in the company, then it's time to strategically start looking for something else. One thing I will tell everyone, don't quit your job until you have another job. So do your research and just be prepared that if there aren't opportunities within your current company, start looking outside of the company, but do that very strategically. And in the process of you looking for a new job, should it come to that, make sure that you are still performing well at your current job, all the way up until the last minute that you're working, okay? So we're going to go on to the next question. And I'm just gonna pull it up here, so give me a second. The next question comes from James. He says, I'm really enjoying your videos. Thank you so much. I wish I could have sat in on some of your workshops. Thank you, I appreciate that. So he says he's wondering if I wouldn't mind giving some advice on negotiating. Just landed a really good full-time job and they are relocating him. He's really excited, but he hasn't talked about relocation allowances yet. Okay, and he wants to know how he should ask about it. Should he shoot high or aim low? And what if they say they'll only give him a certain amount, but it doesn't cover his moving expenses? All right, James, great questions. So let's jump into this. I'm going to tackle this one by one. And the first thing is, so you've received the offer. And if your offer letter doesn't say anything about your relocation package, you really need to ask, you need to have that conversation ASAP. Okay, you need to talk to the person who sent you the offer letter, or either the person you've been interviewing with and the person who discussed the reload package with you. Just talk to them and say, hey, you know, I noticed this was missing out of my offer letter. So, you know, I wanted to know if I can get a revised one. If you haven't discussed this at all with them, which it sounds like you haven't, it's okay. It's not too late. Just go back to them and say, I've done a little bit of research. For me to move from this city to this city, it's going to cost around this. Now make sure you go and do your research. What I would suggest is you call 3 moving companies and get some competitive prices. Now, one thing that you'll want to do is, yes, this isn't the money coming out of your pocket, but you want to be mindful of how much money that it costs. So don't shoot for, the companies with all of the bells and whistles. You'll want to shoot for the companies who offer a really good service, who have great reviews online. Get 3 quotes. Take that information, bring it back, even if you have it in writing, bring it back to the person that gave you the offer and say, I've done some research and this is what it costs to move. In addition to that, add what other fees that may be associated with moving outside of the cost of the moving company, such as maybe, setting up your cable or transferring electricity, or, moving your car, if you're driving your car, the gas to get down there, things like that. So I'm not an expert in relocation packages, but these are just some of the things that I'm thinking of. And from some of the research that I've done, some of the things that people get paid for when they relocate. So you'll definitely want to bring them the research. Never enter this by saying, oh, I think I want $10,000 to move. If they haven't offered you anything, it's really important to go in with the research and armed to properly negotiate and say, this is what it costs. Now, your other question says, should I shoot high or aim low? I think I just covered that. What you'll want to do is you'll want to go with, give them the 3 bids, go with the lowest one. Again, making sure that these companies are great and you've read their reviews, because one thing that you don't want to happen is the company that you're negotiating with to come back and say, okay, we'll pay for this moving company, but you haven't done your research. And then later you realize that, maybe they don't have great reviews, but you're stuck with them because you presented this information to your potential new employer. So your last part, the third part of your question, it says, what if they say they'll only give me a certain amount, but I still don't think it's enough? Again, research, research, research. If you don't think that the relocation package covers the expenses that you're going to incur moving, just present them with the quotes that you've received. Or if they have a company that they use, go ahead and use that company. Just make sure you're prepared. You always want to enter these as a non-ultimatum. You don't want to go in confrontational. After all, they want you for a job and you've gone through the entire interview process. So they see something in you and you see something in that company. Otherwise, you wouldn't have taken it this far. So don't go at it combatively, and definitely don't approach it as an ultimatum. Present them with the facts. And hey, at the end of the day, if they're only giving you $200 to relocate from state to state, then, you have to decide, is it worth it? But I think most companies who say that they're going to offer you a relocation package, they're going to be pretty fair. Don't be afraid to ask. That's the number one thing that I see young professionals make a mistake with. They just don't ask. They are afraid and they think, oh, well, things will just come. People will just offer it. No, they won't offer it. And you have to ask, and you have to be prepared to ask by doing the research. All right, so I hope that answered your question, James. If it doesn't, just shoot me another email and then we can work one-on-one. So let's go to our next question. All right, so this is good. Tana says, I read your post on LinkedIn about the foot in the door strategy. I have a question. I took a job to get my foot in the door 3 years ago and nothing's panned out. I haven't gotten any promotions. Well, okay, it says I haven't even applied for any promotions. I was really expecting them to see that I was awesome and offer me a position. All right, Tana, great question. And I talk about this in the blog post and also my course, Preparing for a Performance Review. One of the common mistakes that I see, people will take a job to get their foot in the door, but they don't maximize that opportunity by being prepared. So one of the things that I want you to do is go back and read my post, because I outlined some steps of what you should be doing to get your foot in the door and actually move around within that company. You've been there for 3 years, so you know the landscape of the organization. If you don't know the departments outside of the departments that you work in, that's going to be your number 1 step. The number 2 step is you haven't applied for anything. So you really want to be looking on the job boards and talking to people to find out which jobs are going to be available. Now, Most of the jobs, when you see them posted, they may already have someone in line. This is where networking inside of your office becomes really important, because you'll hear about those opportunities before they're posted online. So if you're not, go to lunch with your coworkers from time to time. If people go to happy hour, join them from happy hour from time to time. You'll begin to build those relationships internally and open yourself up to opportunities when they arise. So I hope that answers your questions, Hannah. Again, you've been there for 3 years. People aren't just going to say, hey, you're really awesome, let's give you this job. You got to let them know that you're interested in it. So speak up. Don't be afraid. And again, as I mentioned earlier to Nikki, what you'll want to do is you'll want to express your interest and just be confident about it. All right, let's see. Our next question is from B, and I'm pulling this up. So, all right, so Bree says, I'm in mid-career. I'm not sure which industry I want to be in, but I know that I need a new resume. All right, B, I have a few things that I want to recommend for you. Go over to the Apple App Store. If you have an iPhone, Label League has an awesome app. It's called Thinking Talents. It really just helps you organize your strengths. So if you don't know what you want to do next, I would encourage you to look at jobs that play off of your strengths, which is why I'm encouraging you to use the Thinking Talents app. It's free. Basically, it's just a quiz that you take. It takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes. There's instructions on there, but then at the end of it, it gives you your top strengths. When you have your top strengths, I want you to then think about jobs that utilize those strengths, and then start to target how you'll want to apply for jobs and which jobs you would really like to be in based on your previous experience. So because you said you're mid-career, you have a lot of skills that are probably transferable. Given that I don't know what industry you've been in, I will say this. Every job that you have, you can transfer those skills into something else. So you just need to get creative. In my book, Navigating the Career Jungle, I have an outline of something that you can do to create a template for yourself of the basic skills that you have. That's in chapter 3, interviewing and preparing to sell your skills. So I want you to check that out, B, and I think that'll really help you. But start with the Thinking Talents quiz so that you can understand your strengths and then translate that into what jobs can utilize your strengths and your previous experience. Good luck, B. Once you get things sorted out, hit me up again. Let me know how things are going. And if you have any follow-up questions, definitely let me know. All right, so let me pull up our next question. This question is from Angela. All right, this is a performance review question. Great. So I did a course preparing to nail your performance review, and it just wrapped up last week. So the performance review question says, my company does not have a formal process. Yes, we have a form and a time of year, but when it's time to do performance reviews, my supervisor really rushes over it. It's no more than a 5-minute conversation, just a checkbox so that he can say that HR that he completed it. All right, so let's be real. This happens to a lot of people. And if you really want to take your performance reviews seriously, then you have to do the prep work. So in my course, I really walk people through looking at what they've done over the past year. Look at the projects that you've been a part of and your successes. Your successes can be big or small. They can be anything from receiving a kudos email to, turning in a project ahead of schedule, or finding some money that you didn't know was there, or saving money in a different area. Your wins can be anything. So what you should do is, and this is going to be a little time consuming, especially if you're doing it for the first time. What I want you to do is start a list, and you might want to use your emails to jog your memory of every project you've worked on since your last performance review. So I'm assuming you've been at this company for at least a year if you've already experienced the performance review process. Given that information, the first thing that I want you to do is start going through making a list of your projects. Then noting your success. Again, I just gave you the recap of the things that you can consider a success. I also want you to make a list of the things that you've learned. You know, in order for us to grow and progress in our careers, we have to have something where we can say, you know what, I really nailed this. I'm really doing well at this. Or you can also say, I didn't do so well on that thing over there, but I'm going to do it better next time. And I'm going to do this specifically differently to change that outcome. So there's no shame at all in owning your mistakes. I call those learning blocks. So make sure you also note all of your learning blocks. And in addition to that, make sure you say what you learned from it or how you're going to do things differently next time. In addition to that, create a PowerPoint or a Prezi or a short video, depending on your industry. You can get really creative with this. And you'll want to schedule a meeting with your supervisor around that performance review time and say, hey, I've been reflecting over my performance over the past year, and I want to take it to the next level this next year. So I created this document really as a review of the things that I've done and the things that I've learned. And I also have an idea of how I want to take it to the next level, but I want your feedback. Can we use my performance review time to have this conversation? Most supervisors are going to be willing to sit down with you. Plus, you're taking the work off of them. You know, a lot of supervisors, they manage more than one person. So performance review it takes them away from their day-to-day job. So you want to help them out with this process, especially since you're already saying that it's really important to you. So take the time. I've noticed with the people that I work with, it really takes 3 to 4 weeks to get all of this together and to really think about everything that you've done in the past year. Now, for all of you who are listening to this, I want you to do something. This is going to help you out a lot. Start now, cataloging everything that you worked on. Now, I'm not saying I answered the phone this day, I responded to an email this day. I'm talking about the projects that you worked on and then those major outcomes of the project. Start tracking that now so that a year from now or whenever your performance review comes around, you will have an easier time preparing for your performance review. And when you're doing this, hey, go ahead and update your resume. I believe that you should update your resume once a quarter anyway so that you don't forget all of your accomplishments. So once you finish this process preparing for your performance review, go ahead and update your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and your Label League profile as well. So thanks for that question, Angela. And we're right at 6:24, so we have about 6 minutes left. I have 3 more questions, so I'm going to do my best to get through them. Any questions that I don't answer today, I'll answer the next time. All right. So it says, how do I stay in contact with people? This is from Zoe. It says, how do I stay in contact with people that I meet at a networking event? Any advice greatly appreciated. Thanks again. All right, Zoe. So I love this question. I believe that networking, the most important part is building those mutually beneficial relationships. And you really do that in the follow-up after the event. So within 24 to 48 hours, you'll want to send an email or a tweet or a handwritten note to the person that you met. The reason why I say handwritten note, we all get tons of emails a day, and sometimes those emails get buried because we have something, you know, more pressing or more urgent that comes up. But when you get something in the mail, especially a handwritten note, you don't get that too often, so you kind of pay attention to it. So if you have that person's mailing address, if their address is on their business card, I know it's rare these days, but if it is on their card, go ahead and use it. So you'll want to send a quick email or note to them and say, hey, it was a pleasure to meet you at XYZ event. You'll want to jog their memory, all right? Really important because you've met a lot of people and they've met a lot of people. The other reason why you're doing this 24 to 48 hours after you met, you want to do this before you forget them and before they forget you. All right? So send a note saying, hey, it was nice to meet you at this event. If you talked about something specific, you'll also want to include that in your short note. You don't need 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe 4 or 5 sentences max. Let's say you talked about something and you want to send them an article as a follow-up to your conversation. Go ahead and include the link. That's awesome. That also shows that you were paying attention during that conversation. So the other thing that you'll want to do in that message is you'll want to say, hey, you know, since we're in the same city, do you want to meet up for coffee? Or if coffee isn't your thing, you know, meet up for a yoga or for a smoothie, whatever. You just want to meet up and have that face-to-face. This is where you begin to build those mutually beneficial relationships. You want to find out how you can help them, how you can add value to their network or a project that they're working on based on the conversation that you've had. Always be genuine. We can all spot a fake a mile away. So avoid that at all costs. You know, you don't want to be that person that comes across as like, you know, not really feeling that person. They weren't that genuine. We've all met people like that. So always be yourself. Always be honest. There are some people that you may want to connect with that maybe the timing isn't right or your personalities just don't match. It's okay. You won't click with everyone that you meet at a networking event. But the most fruitful relationships are those relationships that you build that are mutually beneficial. So don't force it. You know, what I mean by don't force it is if you see that you're not getting along and your personalities kind of clash a little bit, it's okay. You know, just stay cordial, stay in touch maybe once a year. Hey, you know, I hope to see you at the next event if it's an annual event or monthly event, and keep it short and sweet. Don't press meeting for lunch or coffee or anything like that. So we have one more question and I'm going to get to it. Zoe, thank you for your question. Our next question, it comes from Edward. So Edward says, hi, I have a really hard time connecting with my mentor. We were scheduled to meet once a month and they aren't really showing up to our meetings. What should I do? All right, Edward, this is a great question. Thank you for writing in. One of the things that I suggest that you do is reconnect with your mentor. Say, hey, you know, I know we're scheduled once a month for whatever time, and I understand that you're really busy. Is there another time that's more convenient for you? Now, if your mentor responds and say, yes, this other time is better, and if it fits with your schedule, go with that. But if they say, you know, I just have so much going on right now, I'm sorry, I can't meet, it's okay. Don't be upset. Send them a message back. Always be gracious because this person has given you some of their time. And ask them, you know, well, is there anyone else that you'd recommend that I connect with? Sometimes that person doesn't have time, but they may know someone else whose schedule is a little bit lighter during that time frame and that they'll be able to work with you. So don't write them off. Never be nasty. You never, ever, ever want to burn a bridge. So be polite, be courteous. And if they don't respond at all when you reach out to them, then just send them a note and say, you know, is it okay if I reach back out to you in a couple of weeks if I don't hear, or a couple of months if I don't hear? When I say couple, I mean 2, literally. Like, hey, can I reach back out in 2 months and see if we can reconnect and get things going again? If you don't get anything, it's okay. Just move on. There are a lot of mentors that I follow online. I've never met them in person. They're dynamic people. I read interviews that they have online. Videos are written. And I follow them on Twitter if they have a Twitter account. You know, there's ways that you can connect with mentors, even if you don't see them face-to-face or talk to them over the phone. So thank you, Edward, for your question. Thank you, everybody, for your questions today. I really appreciate it. I hope this helps you. Continue to tweet me at NTCJ, Navigating the Career Jungle. And I mentioned earlier, I just launched a podcast. So join the podcast, Navigating the Career Jungle. It's in iTunes as well as Stitcher Radio. And I'll see you all next month for our career strategy session, aka the free career consultation. Have a great night, guys.